Hello and welcome to another teaching by 119 Ministries. Our ministry teaches that the whole Bible is still true and directly relevant in our lives. If you would like to know more on what we believe and teach, please visit us at testeverything.net. We hope that you enjoy studying and testing the following teaching. Some accuse our Messiah of setting aside the law of Moses. Contrary to Matthew chapter 5, verses 17 through 19, they teach that our Father has no interest in His people obeying all the commandments of God. They teach that we are to no longer observe the seventh-day Sabbath, eat only clean things, or other such commandments that we find in the Bible. However, unless we believe our Messiah sinned, our Messiah did not set aside the law of Moses. For example, the author of Hebrews associates the setting aside of the law of Moses to be sin. Hebrews chapter 10. For if we go on sinning deliberately after receiving the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but a fearful expectation of judgment, and a fury of fire that will consume the adversaries. Anyone who has set aside the law of Moses dies without mercy on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. Anyone who has set aside the law of Moses dies without mercy on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. Interesting how sinning is equated to those who set aside the law of Moses. Notice how the word dies in Hebrews chapter 10 is in present tense. More specifically, it is in the singular present active indicative form in the Greek. This can be validated in any Greek concordance that reveals to you the tense and mood of the verb. The fact that the word dies was in present active indicative form is so hard for the Greek translators to understand that the older translations chose to translate it in the past tense anyways. Did you catch that? Why did they do this? Contrary to what the text said. Because in their mind, the law of Moses was no longer applicable. So in their mind, it should not be in the present tense. In other words, their preconceived theological beliefs about the law of God caused them to translate the present tense Greek text into past tense English. Here's an example of the intentional mistranslation appearing in the King James Version. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 28, King James Version. He that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. Do you see that? Past tense. However, those that understand that the law of God written down by Moses is still just as applicable today as it was for Yeshua and as it was for Sinai, then the fact that the word dies in verse 28 is in present tense is no problem if one knows that the law of God still applies today. In fact, it makes perfect sense because the law of God is not something that was, but in fact still is. So just like Yeshua did not set aside the law of Moses, neither are we. We are not to set aside the law of God, but the law of God is to set us apart. We hope that this teaching blessed you. And remember, continue to test everything. Shalom.